Welcome to episode 17 of Literally Speaking All Things AIS, the official podcast of Augusta Independent School District. I'm Tim Litteral, and we're glad you've stuck around through the first season. Today, we'll start with a few quick updates from around the district, and then we'll share some highlights of the interviews we've done this past school year before moving on to our spotlight and wrapping up with our In the Loop segment. We'll begin with AISD Headlines, a segment to share important district news and celebrate accomplishments. Augusta Independent is excited to be one of 34 districts in Kentucky selected to participate in the 2026 Summer Boost Reading and Mathematics program, which promotes family engagement in reading and math by giving away free books and fun items intended to motivate continued learning throughout the summer months. The program will kick off June 11th. This summer, AIS is bringing the books to the students with our mobile read-along stops. We will visit the Augusta Pool on June 11th, June 25th, July 9th, and July 23rd at 1 p.m., and the Bracken Creek Apartments on June 16th, June 30th, July 14th, and July 28th at 11 a.m. Plus, every Wednesday at 1 o'clock from June 17th through August 5th, students can stop by the AIS library for free books. As an incentive to encourage summer reading, students may complete a weekly reading log and trade it in for prizes all summer long. Tony Roof has been named as the new Technology Director and Chief Information Officer for Augusta Independent beginning July 1st, 2026. Mr. Roof has 14 years' experience in education. He began teaching at Augusta Independent in 2001 before leaving for Whitley County in 2004. Beginning in 2005, he returned to the area to teach at Bracken County High School for 2 years before leaving education for the private sector in 2007. He returned to teaching at Augusta Independent in 2018 and for the last 2 years also served as the Assistant Technology Director. He will continue to teach part-time in addition to his new role. There will be 2 basketball camp opportunities hosted at Augusta Independent this summer. First, Brent Bach's Be Elite Basketball Camp will be held June 19th and 20th for students in kindergarten through 8th grade. The cost is $50 per child. A t-shirt is included with registration. The Augusta Athletic Department will host its annual basketball camp July 20th through 22nd from 9 a.m. until noon each day. The camp is open to any child in kindergarten through 5th grade from any school and will include individual instruction, fundamental skills development, and game competition and activities. The cost is $50 per child. All campers will receive free daily admission to the Augusta Pool on camp days. To sign up, visit www.augusta.kyschools.us. This year's summer lunch program will look different from years past. This new program will deliver meals to the home through UMC Food Ministries. There will be no on-site eating in the cafeteria. Each child is eligible to receive 1 weekly box of food, which contains 7 days of breakfast and 7 days of lunch. Parents have a choice of completely shelf-stable meals or frozen foods. All the boxes contain fresh produce. All meals are completely free for children 1 through 18 years of age. All children, regardless of income, are eligible to receive the meals if they live in Bracken County. Deliveries began around Memorial Day and will conclude when school starts in August. For more details and to access the QR code to sign up, visit www.augusta.kyschools.us. This episode, we're bringing you clips of various discussions we had with guests throughout the year. We kicked off the podcast last October talking to Robin Kelch. Across the nation, sort of nationally, there's this narrative that maybe schools aren't preparing students for life after graduation. How do you see Augusta Independent preparing students for life after graduation, whether that's college, trade school, or the workforce?
Well, the first thing I want to speak on to that, Mr. Litteral, is I really think the state in general and the nation as a whole has done a good job the last 5 to 6 years realizing that trade school, military are valuable options. You know, I think there for a while in education, and when you've been in it as long as we have, you see different trends and things. You know, there for a while, college was being pushed on way too many kids. So that's the first thing. I'm so glad that as a whole, people are starting to realize that, listen, this world's always going to need plumbers, electricians, construction people, whatever it is per se, but those careers are very valuable. I think Augusta does an outstanding job. You know, once again, we're very small. I'm an advocate for the small school, for the independent school, obviously. But, you know, the one thing it does give us is I really feel several people know each individual kid. and know what they want and are able to help them tailor their high school education, the opportunities we present for them or field trips we arrange for them or speakers, tailor that to what each and every one of those is interested in. Kudos to our guidance counselor, Brandy Brewer, works a lot with those juniors and seniors, setting up their dual credit classes. If they want to go to college, our board is gracious enough to pay for several of those classes, get those kids a great head start if that's the route they want to go. Miss Bishop works with those seniors in the Gear Up program, which, shout out to Gear Up. If anybody on the higher levels listening that needs to be funded, that needs to be continued to be included, it has been a huge benefit here at Augusta Independent School. Miss Autumn Bishop has done a remarkable job. It's Gear Up Week, National Gear Up Week. The kids and the staff have participated in Adam Sandler dress up day, and that's been neat. But that's the kind of excitement Autumn brings, the relationship her and Mrs. Brewer, have with those students. The best way we prepare them is getting them access to whatever career they want. Mr. Bryant, who was the guidance counselor for several years, always said it best. Kids would go to vocational school, and I don't want to do that. Well, then you've knocked one thing off the list, because if you go to college, and you don't know you want to be a nurse, and you spend a year or so in that field, that's money out of your pocket. So both ways, you either learn what you want to do, and it's also as valuable to learn that's not what you want to do. But going back to original, we tailor speakers, we tailor field trips, we college visits, whatever it may be. We've gone to School of Mortuary Science in Cincinnati because one or two kids was interested in that. That is what a small school is able to do. That is what Augusta Independent is able to do. And we can tailor that instruction, that career planning, to 25, 30 kids, and hopefully hit each and every one of those.
We sat down with Autumn Bishop in November to discuss the Gear Up program. Gear Up's not a real common program that a lot of schools have. There's only 8 current districts in the state with a Gear Up program, so many in our audience may not be familiar with the program and the history of it. So I just wanted you to give us a little overview of the history of Gear Up.
Yeah, so GEAR UP is actually an acronym that stands for Gaining Early Awareness and Readiness for Undergraduate Programs, and this is a federal grant program created by Congress in 1998, so it's been around for a while in Kentucky, and this is to help students prepare for life after high school. So we focus on schools where the majority of students live in a low-income household, working with students, families, and educators so that more young people graduate high school ready to succeed in college, career training, or other post-secondary opportunities. So in October of this year, the Kentucky Council on Post-Secondary Education, which is CPE, they were awarded a 7-year, $35 million GEAR Up state grant from the U.S. Department of Education. And the current project will serve more than 10,000 students in 8 districts across the state, including Augusta.
What are some of the primary goals and objectives of the GEAR Up program? I know we kind of mentioned it revolves a lot around post-secondary transition readiness.
So the vision of GEAR Up Kentucky is every student prepared for post-secondary success. And when we say post-secondary, we are meaning any education after high school, whether that's a traditional 4-year, a short-term certificate, a 2-year degree, any type of education after high school that students continue is what we refer to. And the mission of GEAR Up Kentucky is to increase the number of students from these low-income Kentucky communities who are ready to successfully transition to and through that post-secondary education. And we do this by providing services and support to prepare that whole student and equipping their families, the schools, and the communities to promote and sustain the student success. And primarily, we do this by student readiness, we do college and financial aid applications, college enrollment rates, and while also building those partnerships and providing our students and families and educators with those necessary skills in order to do that. So each year, we're serving a high school senior class, and we follow them through their first year of college, providing those services, and then we pick up 2 cohorts starting in their 6th grade year and also serve them through their first year of college, provide that ongoing support.
Our Frisk director, Todd Kelch, explained how his office can provide food assistance to families in need. Food assistance is another area where Frisk helps families in need, and food assistance, that's a year-long need in some cases. Talk about what programs your office has in place to assist families that might have some food insecurity.
Yeah, so one of our key resources through Frisk is our Panther Market, which is a free school food pantry program through Free Store Food Bank of Cincinnati. We get food deliveries monthly, And families can take advantage of that by calling or emailing the Frisk office to set up a pickup or delivery time. We try to make that as discreet as possible. We have had a huge success with Panther Market. We also offer our preschool through 6th grade students who some of our staff members may have seen or heard some things of food insecurity. We offer our Power Pack program, which is a weekend food program. Our students love that. Students who have not shown any sign of food insecurity sometimes will request to be on that. And Free Store Food Bank is very giving with those Power Packs, so we're able to offer that to a lot of students.
And you mentioned about trying to offer program maybe discreetly, and that's something I think with both of these programs, we understand that people don't necessarily want their children knowing that they're having to go ask for assistance, and your office is good about trying to, as best you can, be discreet about these these offers of assistance.
Yeah, it's one of my main goals when I offer assistance through just any program, really, is to be as discreet as possible, but also to make them feel like they're not asking for something that is not doable for our Frisk office. If we don't have the resource here directly at the school, I can help, or there are other people here at the school that can help find that resource for them.
In February, we spoke with Debbie Mahalik of the Augusta Independent Education Foundation. Let's talk about the mission or the purpose of the foundation.
The Augusta Independent Education Foundation is put in place to ensure the achievement of every student. By supporting we support teachers, staff, administrators, parents, but more importantly, we really support each student.
And I know a key aspect of the foundation is, in addition to, raising funds to support different initiatives in the district, is historic preservation of the district.
Yes, when preparing for the podcast, I reached out to one of our board members, John Parker, and he gave me some insight on how this historic preservation started. Number one, we have a historic building that's gorgeous if you haven't been in it recently. The school board takes wonderful care of the building. What happened was that at one time they were painting the inside of the building and they took down all the composites. John Parker, Judy Fetter, and several others in the community came back in, got the composites, restored them, and had them placed on the walls. So that kind of started our historic preservation. Through the help of past President Aaron Limbaugh, Dr. Limbaugh, he had really spearheaded and became very involved in the preservation. If you go to the board office, Aaron has documents, maps, report cards, everything you can think of that really kind of shows the history of the school. He also has digitized a majority of this information, and I'll leave Tim the links and etc. where maybe some folks can go in and look at our website and look at a lot of the historic things that have been done by Aaron.
Yeah, that website is actually on our school website. You can get to it just by going there into About Us, and you'll see Augusta Independent Educational Foundation, or it's augusta.kyschools.us/Augusta IND Ed Foundation. So that's augusta.kyschools.us/Augusta IND Ed Foundation. Or, like I said, you can just go to the district website, and under the About Us tab, there's a link specifically to the Augusta Independent Educational Foundation, and it contains, like you mentioned, a lot of the you want to know who a teacher was or a board member was or maybe a class president.
The basketball score, us versus another school, you know who, in 1979.
Extremely detailed. With a number of district-wide initiatives underway this year, we discussed the adoption of a new mission statement with Superintendent Lisa McCain. Another undertaking this year has been to revise the mission statement. And just to remind our audience of that mission statement, I'll read it. The mission of Augusta Independent is to build a culture of high academic achievement where students develop confidence, character, and perseverance for lifelong success. What prompted that revision?
In districts, you have to go back and revisit your current mission statement because the mission is really what drives all of the work that you're doing. It drives that whole vision that you have for your district. And over the summer, last summer in 2025, a couple of our administrators had been discussing our current mission statement, and we realized that it was outdated. We had evolved past our mission statement. A lot of things have been accomplished. There's a lot of changes that take place in education, and that mission was, I know, at least over a decade old, and it really wasn't focused on the work that we were doing now. And so when we did the strategic planning survey, we asked for input from our families and from our parents on what they would like to see in a new mission statement. Because one of the things, too, that we found is some of the former mission statement, it could be a little confusing. It was left up to interpretation on what that meant to individuals. You could ask 10 different people and they would have told you 10 different things that it meant. And so we really wanted this mission statement to be very focused and very specific on what we are trying to achieve for our students here at Augusta. And so we got the input from our families, from our parents, from our staff. We actually had a couple of community meetings where we had families come in and really delve deep in this work to make sure that we were getting the mission focused on what we were doing, and it also is aligned with the new United We Learn work that the Kentucky Department of Education is doing and helping schools get all of their assessments aligned and high quality. And so I think our mission statement really reflects that work that we are trying to do now.
Right, and you touched on the collaborative effort of developing that. That wasn't you sitting in a room or me or Mr. Kelch sitting in a room. It was bringing parents and community members, and it really opened it up to any staff member. We had teachers who was part of that work and really sort of went through it with a fine-tooth comb to say, what is it that we want our goals, our mission to be? And I think that was obviously very effective in getting those different perspectives and viewpoints.
Definitely. And that's what I think is important to understand, is that work also took place over a course of about 4 to 5 months. It was something that we went back and forth, and we would sit in meetings and really looking at specific words. The wording that goes in the mission statements are so important. We wanted it to really be very specific and pinpoint the work that we're doing. And now I really believe this mission statement, it is really driving the work. And so as administrative team, we will have conversations during meetings. Is this driving the work? Is it part of the mission statement? And so that's what you want it. You want it to all circle back to, yes, that is definitely part of, the mission that we're trying to accomplish for our students here at Augusta.
Mr. Bryant oversees a variety of areas in the district, and he shared some of the challenges on transportation at Augusta Independent. What's one of the biggest challenges for managing transportation for our district?
The biggest challenge by far is our extracurricular activities. I tell people all the time, we only have one bus route. However, we have just as many extracurriculars or athletic programs as any school in the state. We have all the athletic programs here, that most schools have. We have clubs that almost all the schools have. So even though we're very small, we still have that same number of extracurricular activities. So it is hard to find the drivers to do those. A lot of times, we have one or two great drivers that are basically full-time here that can drive our routes, and that's no problem at all. But we might have a baseball team going somewhere, a tennis team going somewhere, and the track team going somewhere on the same night. And that's one of the harder and challenging things that we face as a district. just trying to get those kids, because we want to offer that transportation to all of our kids to make sure they can get to those games or those events or whatever that might be.
Kind of alluded to that. We're always looking for individuals who would like to become particularly sub-bus drivers and drive those extracurricular trips. I always phrase it like, well, you're making money, of course, to drive, but you're also getting money in a sense to sit there and watch a sporting event if you want to, once you get there. So if there's people interested in doing so, getting or becoming a sub-bus driver, what's required and what does that process look like?
Yeah, we're always looking for bus drivers, especially, part-time bus drivers, to do those extracurricular trips. We're fortunate to have a driver trainer here, and we have 2 people on our staff that can actually train everyone to drive. It is a process. It's a little bit different. You have to go through the Kentucky Department of Education guidelines with getting your CDL. However, you can do it kind of on your time. We've had some drivers, it's taken as long as a year to get their CDL and their bus driver permit, but we've also had them, get it finished in a couple months. But we're always looking for those, and if anyone's interested, feel free to contact the board office and ask for me. I can give you, the real specifics on that, but that is something we can do here in-house and get you trained and, get you on the road.
And last month, Hayden Taylor interviewed me, and I went into detail about our new Portrait of a Panther initiative.
Tell us more about that work and the program overall.
Our Portrait of a Panther program, that's a program that we're really excited about. It actually comes from what was called our Workplace Ethics Skills program. We unveiled that program right around or right before COVID. And then COVID hit, and honestly, that kind of took a back seat. But essentially, our Portrait of a Panther program is our version of what you might hear other districts call Portrait of a Learner or Portrait of a Graduate. And there's a lot of districts in Kentucky and a lot of districts across the nation implementing this type of program. Our Portrait of a Panther establishes the characteristics and the skills that we want our students to attain and possess upon graduation. So we decided upon 4 competencies, you might also call those characteristics, where we want our students to be a responsible citizen, an effective communicator, a resilient learner, and a critical thinker. And then within each of those competencies, we have identified 5 skills. So we have a total of 25 skills that we really want students to obtain, to learn and to obtain during their time here at Augusta Independent. We feel like these are skills that are going to help them be successful in the real world after graduation. So this really starts with kindergarten. This is a K-12 program, and we have identified learning activities starting in kindergarten that teachers will embed in their classrooms to have activities that help teach and reinforce these skills. So obviously, as students get older, the activities become more in depth to build those skills. A couple places along the way, we have some what we call transition points where students are giving presentations to a real audience, because we want to continue to have students have public speaking opportunities, and we think that if you start that younger, they'll be more comfortable as they get older. When students get into high school, that's where the program really, I would say, ramps up, because in high school is when they start collecting artifacts. So students are collecting artifacts that show that they have obtained these skills. So they have created a Google site, and there are certain artifacts each year that they have to upload to that Google site. Some things were things they are already doing here, and it's just a matter of embedding this into our program. For example, when students complete the science fair, that's an artifact, because that's certainly an aspect of critical thinking. We have the mock interview project here, so that's an artifact, completing that mock interview. But other things that we added, things like having students participate in debate sessions. Again, that encourages effective communication and those critical thinking skills. Being able to send professional communications, whether that be to employers or professors, that's got to be an artifact. Accumulating community service hours, taking college visits, giving speeches or presentations. All of those are different activities that students have to complete and document. And that's the biggest difference from the high school, from the younger grades. They not only have to complete them, but it's not just we're saying we did it. They have to upload something into their Google site that documents that they've done that project or that activity. And the program culminates with their senior year when, and this is still a couple years down the road for this aspect, but they're actually going to have to give a defensive learning to a committee. So essentially they're going to have to stand up before a 3-person committee and defend why they think that they have completed this program. And they'll use, obviously, their artifacts that they've uploaded along the way. And once they have completed this, they will be considered Panther proven, is what we're calling it. So you've completed all the artifacts, you've done the defensive learning, you've met the grade requirement, the discipline requirement, the attendance requirement, then you're considered Panther proven. And, those students will be recognized with a stole and a patch at graduation, if they're Panther proven. And then if they're on track by the end of their junior year, there will be other incentives that those students will receive for their senior year as a way to encourage students to, really embrace this program. But it is a program that I'm pretty passionate about, because these are skills that I think students need to know. They need to be strong in these skills in order to achieve that success after high school. We thank all of our guests who joined us this past year. Now it's time for our AIS Spotlight. Today we're highlighting the Augusta Art Guild's partnership with Augusta Independent. Augusta Independent Schools and the Augusta Art Guild have collaborated for several years to provide our students art instruction, as well as many amazing cultural outreach programs. We're very appreciative that the Augusta Art Guild has employed Celine Quinn to provide our students engaged 3 through 12 with weekly art instruction. Our students have learned so much from Mrs. Quinn in the past couple of years, and she has built many quality relationships with the art students. We are also very appreciative of Cindy Hopping and the rest of the Guild for organizing and sponsoring field trips and programs they have brought into the school. We value our partnership with the Augusta Art Guild and thank them for all they do for AIS. Before we wrap up, it's time to keep you in the loop. Being in the midst of summer break, it's a light schedule. The next Board of Education meeting is June 11th, and that's the only event on the calendar. That's it for today. We hope you've enjoyed our interviews this past year and found them informative. Our goal is to provide a method to get more in-depth information about our district to the public. With it being summer break, we're only doing one episode this month, so we plan to be back in July with our first episode of the new school year. Be sure to subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I'm Tim Literal, and this has been Literally Speaking, all things AIS. Until next time, stay connected, stay learning, and stay Panther proud.